We hear this pro-abortion argument all of the time.
What about the women who are bleeding out because they can't access an abortion?
In Texas a couple months ago, like, it does happen.
My mom did almost die before she had me. If she would have had the miscarriage that she had,
there has been cases of women dying because doctors are afraid to lose their license.
Does not protect life and simultaneously risks lives of mothers. So, I just want to understand the basics. So why do you believe that abortion should be criminalized?
Because, so I think murder should be criminalized.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah, I mean, it is criminalized. There's no argument on that.
Yeah, so I think that law against murder should be applied equally to all humans. So we have injustice and inequality if when you murder a human in the womb, you don't get the same punishment as murdering a human outside of the womb. That's inequality, that's injustice.
So the biggest lie I see in that argument is in how it actually gets done, because you have procedures done that qualify as abortion that is not the direct taking of life. Take, for example, what happened with my mom.
Okay.
So my mom miscarried,
Yep.
right? And through that, she had to go to another state to have the remains of that fetus scraped out of her.
When was this?
This was back in like 2018.
Okay.
And
I've lost 2 babies to miscarriage.
yeah,
I mean,
I am sorry about that.
my wife did. Is this true? Like, why would you have to go to another state?
Because it was considered, the procedure was considered
Which
something
state?
that could be, this state was, I don't remember what state she went to.
In 2018?
Yes, 2018. In this state, the scrape procedure that was done on her was considered to be an abortion, or a procedure that could be used as an abortion.
In 2018 in this state, you could actively go to a child sacrifice center and have your baby, living baby that's not being miscarried, sliced up into pieces.
Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about...
Well, no, you didn't have to leave this state to have a DNC procedure to remove fetal remains.
She did. She did.
She did not have to.
It happened. She wasn't able to get it in the state because it was outlawed.
I know you're saying that, and I'm not trying to say
Yeah.
I just don't, there's no reason that would ever be done.
All right, pause. I think this guy is totally lying to me right now. This never happened to his mother. I mean, she may have had a miscarriage at some point in time, but what he's attempting to do is personalize some propaganda that he read on the internet at some point. If you don't believe me, just pay attention to his body language as we continue.
So, as the father of a child who's been miscarried, like, I took my wife to an emergency room. We saw the little baby, like, she had been bleeding, and like, we went in to see what was going on, and they were doing tests, and they found that the baby had died. And we saw the little baby in her womb, right?
Okay.
And then she was cramping and so on and so forth. She went to the restroom, and she had to use the restroom. There's a lot of blood and so on and so forth. She came back, they did another ultrasound, and the baby was no longer there.
Okay.
Did the hospital hold us criminally liable for aborting the baby? No, because we didn't intentionally kill the child.
Right, but the...
And that happened in Oklahoma.
...is that the procedures that can be done to save lives are oftentimes considered procedures that could be done for abortions and are therefore outlawed, which does not protect life and simultaneously risks lives of mothers. So your proposal to say that...
To criminalize abortion.
Yeah, criminalize abortion.
Yeah.
Call it illegal. The procedures that can be used
would be
for
totally protected and legal. What your mom did under an abolition bill, like if we abolished abortion in Oklahoma and you had a miscarriage and you needed to remove the fetal remains, would be totally illegal, not criminal at all. Because what we're trying to abolish is the intentional destruction of a human being in the womb.
In the case like he's saying, the reason why she would have to go out of state is because doctors would fear that they would be sued.
That's the propaganda, but it's just not true. Trust me, it's not true. Like, I've been there, I've experienced it, it's not true. That's something that somebody is saying online.
Okay, perhaps we ought to take a moment to look online at the stories that these students are reading and relying on when they make these arguments. If you get on Google, for instance, and type, "Have any women died because they couldn't get miscarriage care in anti-abortion states?" you're going to get the following answer. Yes, several women have died due to delays or denial of miscarriage care in states with strict anti-abortion laws. You get an article here that cites the names of 5 particular women: Candy Miller, Amber Thurman, Jocelyn Barnica, Nevaeh Crane, and Portia Nugmezi. So let's briefly look at their stories and see if what these students are telling me is true. First, you got the case of Candy Miller. She was the mother of 3 born children, 41 years old, had lupus, diabetes, and hypertension. She had conceived a 4th child, but decided to order abortion pills online to terminate their life. The pills she ordered successfully murdered the baby, but they failed to expel all fetal tissue from her body. This led to serious infection, and Miss Miller experienced pain for several days at home until her husband and children found her to have passed away in bed. An autopsy was performed and found that the remains of her murdered child were within her womb, along with a lethal combination of painkillers and opioids laced with fentanyl. Her family and pro-abortion journalists blamed Georgia's 6-week abortion ban for her death. All right, so important to note in this story. First off, Candy Miller was able to order and take abortion pills. She was not prohibited from aborting her baby by Georgia law. Also, her autopsy did not conclude that sepsis alone ended her life. It was lethal amounts of fentanyl present in her blood. But most important for our examination here is the fact that there was no evidence that any doctor anywhere in Georgia chose not to give her care following her abortion because of the Georgia abortion ban. She literally never went to any doctors. Candy Miller was not prohibited from aborting her baby. If she had been, she would probably be alive today. Let's look at the next case. Amber Thurman. Like Candy Miller, Thurman chose to abort her baby and was given pills by an abortionist in a nearby state. Unlike Miller, Thurman was pregnant with twins. And while the pills succeeded in killing her children, they also failed to fully expel their bodies from her womb. Thurman did go to the hospital where doctors sought to help her, but her blood pressure sunk, her organs failed, and she died. Clearly, taking abortion pills not only kills babies, but also mothers who seek to murder their children as well. Pro-abortion journalists suggest that Thurman's doctors refused to perform a D&C procedure because they feared what would happen to them if they did. But no documents or interviews have shown that that is what actually took place or was on the doctors' minds. The truth is, Thurman chose to murder her child. There were complications. She went to the doctor and died before they could figure out how to help her. The doctors were not held liable and are not to this day prohibited from performing D&C procedures to help women who have suffered miscarriages. In Texas, there have been 3 women who have died because of anti-abortion legislation. These women did not want to abort their babies, but actually had miscarriages. Nevaeh Crane was 6 months pregnant when she began feeling unwell and decided to visit an emergency room for help. The hospital she visited diagnosed her with strep throat, gave her medicine, and sent her home. When her illness continued and sharp abdominal cramps began, she went to another ER for help. At this ER, she was screened for sepsis, but an ultrasound was performed and Crane's preborn baby was still alive and possessed a strong heartbeat. So they too sent her home with medication that they believed would help her fight the infection she was experiencing. Crane then decided to visit a 3rd hospital where an obstetrician performed another ultrasound to see if the baby had died and their remains were causing the infection. While waiting to figure out what was going on and how to help her, her blood pressure plummeted, her organs began to fail, and she, along with her child, died. Medical examiners found that Crane's death, as well as the death of her preborn child, may have been prevented had she been admitted earlier to a hospital and kept for close monitoring and continuous treatment. But what has not been shown is that Crane's treatment was delayed as a result of doctors fearing anti-abortion legislation. That part is entirely made up. No doctor at any of the hospitals she visited chose not to help her out of fear of getting in trouble with the law. But that hasn't stopped pro-aborts from telling the world that Crane's death was caused by the passage of such legislation or from suggesting that more women will die if abortion is abolished. This is a clear case of propagandistic appropriation. The ER doctors in Nevaeh Crane's case may have been guilty of poorly diagnosing and responding to her situation, but they were not guided by any fears of getting in trouble with the law. The other case in Texas that gets brought up frequently is the case of Jocelyn Barnica. Miss Barnica began suffering the loss of her child at 17 weeks. She went to the hospital for help where she was receiving assistance, miscarriage care. She was literally receiving assistance, but her uterus was exposed to bacteria in that hospital. She became infected and then 3 days later died from that infection. The claim is that her doctors should have predicted this would happen if her child was not aborted. They should have predicted this before the miscarriage occurred, and if they had done that, she would not have gotten the infection that ultimately led to the end of her life. But notice again, no evidence has been shown to prove or even suggest that her doctors failed to act because of anti-abortion laws passed in the state. They were actually seeking to keep their oath to do no harm to the little patient that Jocelyn Barnica did not want to lose. No doctors in Texas actually believe that they are prohibited from removing the body of a dead baby from their mother's womb. It's all propaganda. So it's important to understand this. When reporting on stories like these, pro-abortion journalists will go find pro-abortion doctors who will happily claim that they fear anti-abortion regulations and legislation and argue that others do as well, because they want abortion on demand for all of the reasons that people regularly cite to justify child sacrifice. The last case to look at is that of Portia Nugmezi. Her case, anti-abolition journalists say, raises questions about how abortion bans might be pressuring doctors to avoid miscarriage care. But like all the cases examined so far, that's not what happened at all. For Miss Nugmezi, she suffered a miscarriage, went to an emergency room in Houston, Texas, and there, the hospital followed its routine response and gave her a drug called misoprostol to help her body pass the remains of her sadly deceased child. It's important to understand, these pills are the same pills used to abort living babies. So it just absolutely cannot be the case that the doctor feared anti-abortion legislation when giving her abortion pills to help the fetal remains move on. This proves that he's not withholding care out of a concern of anti-abortion legislation. Sadly, Ms. Nugmezi took the pills according to standard procedures at that hospital, but bled far too much and died. The claim is that the hospital should not have followed their routine procedures. So in conclusion, absolutely none of these cases show that doctors anywhere are fearing anti-abortion language and from that fear not helping women in dire situations. Let's get back to the conversation.
Like when you go remove a dead child from your womb, hospitals have to do that, and they don't have any fear or worry about that. That is completely legal. They have entire medical wings, or wings in their hospitals full of lawyers that are there to deal with protecting doctors who've had patients that have died, and you have to investigate, did the patient die because of negligence? Was the doctor like drunk or high or whatever? So like there are investigations, but there's no law that's ever been proposed to criminalize removing the body of a dead baby. No one's ever proposed that. It's never been done. And I don't think these situations have ever happened. I think people lie because ultimately they're making that up so that they can justify what they really want, which is abortion on demand for any reason whatsoever, because they think abortion is going to help them in their selfish pursuit of their own lives.
I noticed something while editing that really puts the last nail in the coffin of this whole miscarriage argument. So if you do a search in Google like we showed, you'll find that nearly every result cites the stories of the 5 women we just covered. Well, if you dig a little deeper and look up the individual women, you'll see that even though many major news outlets covered their stories, all of their articles cite the same source, ProPublica. And on top of that, if you look at the 5 ProPublica articles that they cite, they're all written by the same woman, Kavitha Surana, whose self-stated goal is to find stories like these, and who also wrote this little gem, The Year After a Denied Abortion, an article about how tragic it is that this precious baby girl is not currently rotting in a biohazard dumpster. So this whole miscarriages will be illegal and women will bleed out narrative is actually the brainchild of a single evil woman that pro-abortion news outlets then dutifully regurgitate. All right, I'll unpause Russell now.
Are you for abortion in general?
To a certain degree. I do believe that at a certain point in development that I could begin to see the other side. My personal belief is more radical. I do believe that up until birth you should be able to have an abortion if you do not believe that you are able to properly care for the child, because I believe in quality of life, and I also believe in changing circumstances. If up until a month before the child's due date, something big happens in your life, like let's say there's a big fire, insurance doesn't cover it, and you just don't have the money at the time to take care of the child, I do not believe that you should be required to have that additional financial drag. But that is my personal belief.
So in your personal belief, financial drag in that situation allows you to do something that would be wrong?
I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying that it's right as far as quality of life.
Quality
of life.
Okay, so say you have a toddler, and you suffer you find out that you've got cancer, your house burns down, your favorite TV show is canceled, and just all sorts of stuff, and you're really poor. Can you kill that toddler?
I mean, that situation is irrelevant. A toddler is not a fetus.
A toddler's a human being.
Yeah,
they haven't gone through full physical.
Fetus is not a human being. I do not adhere to that.
You don't think a human fetus is a human?
I do not believe that it is a conscious human being. No.
Why do you keep adding things to it? Is it a human?
I mean,
fetuses are conscious. At 9 weeks, yes, they are. But prior to 9 weeks,
9 weeks is where I can see the argument. That is something that I can begin to see. My personal belief is different from that, but that's where I can begin to see the other side. But I do not believe that life...
Well, you said up to birth.
Up to birth, that was a separate scenario.
I just think you justified doing something to a human because of quality of life, and you said something about being poor and having a fire and so on and so forth. I added the TV shows getting canceled, but I don't think tragedy and prediction of the difficult life justifies murder. That's the basic question. Is it terminating a human being? If it is, no amount of suffering is going to get you out of that argument.
See, and that is where I disagree. I do believe in quality of life above all else, regardless of whether or not you think it is murder or not. And I do not.
And I'd like you to see that if you believe quality of life above all else, there's all sorts of born people that you could kill. Because a lot of born people have terrible quality of life, and they could look down the trajectory of their life and say, man, it's only going to get worse. Like a dad and a mom could look at their toddlers and think, they are very, very likely to be hungry. Let's just bury them in the backyard. We're wrong.
I believe in abortion to avoid situations like that. You know the starfish analogy, where you have a girl on a beach and there's a bunch of starfish. If they are left there during low tide, they will all die. This girl walks along the beach and starts tossing these starfish back into the sea. Man walks up to her and it's like, well, you can't save them all. Why are you doing this? She picks up another starfish, throws it back into the ocean, and says, because I saved that one. I don't think murder is applicable in the cases of a toddler. I don't think that's right. I do not believe that the termination of a fetus is murder, but I do believe you can save some people from unfortunate circumstances, and I think that is something that should be done.
That's not true.
I haven't eaten lunch yet. But I'm trying to figure out what the starfish thing was about. Like how that connected to what you said. I think generally speaking, it's a broken record. A person's terrible situation doesn't justify killing them, because if that were true, you could solve a lot of terrible situations by just killing the person. And so because it's not right. Like the reason it's not right when you're dealing with a born person is because killing a born person is killing a human. You can't kill humans because humans are valuable. And I think they're valuable because God made them, but you may not believe in God, but you probably believe that humans are valuable. So you don't have the same foundation for why they're valuable. But if you can't kill a human because it's a human, all of the arguments saying it's okay to kill a human in the womb have to apply to humans outside of the womb, unless you draw some arbitrary line saying being inside of the womb and outside of the womb somehow is what gives you your value. Like it's like the magical vagina portal where you get your value or something. Or I guess if you're a C-section baby, it's just like breathing air on the outside is where you get your value. I just think that that's just a fairy tale myth that I'm not willing to adopt, because you start thinking that way, you can start taking entire groups of humans and just saying they're not valuable because they don't meet my arbitrary standard. And every time that that's been done in history, we've had genocides or slavery or just mass murder. And so it's,
No, but that's a slippery slope argument.
And yours isn't? That's dangerous.
Your argument is a slippery
you just
slope.
explained your argument and you said that's a slippery slope argument.
No. I'm saying that the extent to which it is being applied from your perspective is a slippery slope. I am not saying that we should be able to go around and kill someone in unfortunate circumstances. I am saying that I do not believe.
I thought that's what you said.
I believe that life does not begin at conception. I do not adhere to that.
So how does the human the thing in the womb is not a human, and it becomes a human when it's on the outside of the womb?
It's not alive, and then it becomes alive.
Oh, it's definitely alive. If it were not alive, you wouldn't have to abort them.
Well, we just said at 9 weeks they have consciousness.
Too
Y'all
hungry
argue
for this.
that. At a certain amount of weeks they have a heartbeat. Would y'all argue that? So what makes you alive that doesn't make
Low level, pretty awesome.
94 weeks.
I can literally walk away from this conversation because the students got it handled. Pretty cool. Oh, hey, real quick, one last thing. Abolitionist Rising is supported by monthly donors and people who contribute from time to time. Just wanted to say we greatly appreciate the financial support. And to anyone who wants to continue to see us do this work, do it better, do it more often, please consider donating at our website at the link here below. Love you.